What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wade Berry Fitness channel. I am Wade Berry, and today I'm going to be speaking on something that, like most things in the fitness and nutrition space, is wildly misrepresented and demonized, and nobody can really tell you why. It's just one of them things that people write articles about, and your doctor tells you to stay away from it, and people just have this misinformed take on what it is and why you should consume it, should or shouldn't consume it. And what I'm speaking on today is red meat. And if you've been in a doctor's office within like the last 30 years, or you've been online and done any type of research on what type of foods cause cancer and what type of foods to stay away from, you've seen or you've heard something along the lines of red meat causes cancer, or limit your consumption of red meat because it can lead to cancer. And the truth is, there is some truth to that, but there's nuance. And that's why I'm making this video ultimately, because I want to unpack this for y'all. The truth is, yes, red meat can cause cancer. But another truth is highly processed red meat that's full of preservatives like nitrites and nitrates. That is what causes the cancer. And I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to tell you why organic red meat doesn't cause cancer, and you should prioritize consuming that. But let me unpack this first. First and foremost, heavily processed red meat. This is why it's no good for you. Because, and just real quick history, back in the Industrial Revolution, back during the Industrial Revolution, we had a population boom, right? And we had to start feeding more people. And because we had more people to feed, we had to ship meats long distances, whatever means of transportation, railroad, whatever. So in order to preserve the meat to where it could stay fresher longer, and we could get it to more people and feed more mouths, we started using synthetic preservatives. And before that, we used to just pack our meat with salt. We used to smoke it. We used to dehydrate it. There's a couple other forms, but the main ones were packing it with salt, dehydrating it, and smoking it. That's how we used to preserve meat. Those are all natural forms of preservation, and there's people that still do it to this day. But because those methods weren't optimal anymore, and you had the Industrial Revolution and population boom, we had to switch to synthetic man-made chemicals to preserve this meat. And the chemicals that they use, there's a bunch of them, but the main ones are called nitrates and nitrites, right? So we start pumping this meat full of nitrates and nitrites in order to preserve it longer and get it to more people, which I get it. Like, I don't think there was any like ill intention or anything evil behind it. They just were doing what they thought was best because, you got a population boom and more people to feed. So you do what you can to keep up with the demand of food, right? So they start pumping it full of nitrates and nitrites. And over time, two things happened. One, scientists started to realize there was a correlation between countries that consume more meat and cancer rates. And that was red flag number one. They're like, man, something's going on. Like, all these countries that consume more meat, they're having higher cancer rates. Like, we need to look into that. And then they started studying this meat that was pumped full of these man-made preservatives. They started studying it, and what they realized was, when the nitrates and nitrites, the preservatives in the meat, when they combine with amines, which is basically a byproduct of amino acids. So you have amines in the meat itself, and then you have amines in your body. When those nitrates and nitrites combine with the amines, they create a compound called nitrosamines, right? And nitrosamines, they promote, once they come together and they form the nitrosamine inside of your body promotes inflammation and DNA damage. And once you get those two things together, that is a recipe for cancer, right? So they realize, like, man, this ain't right. We gotta figure something out. But the damage was already done, right? So they just, I don't know why they didn't make the switch, to be honest. Now that I'm sitting here talking about it, I don't know why they started trying to find some other methods. Maybe it was just cheaper, or they didn't care. I would have to look into that more, but they found the reason why these preservatives are creating the cancer, because they form with other things occurring in the meat and in your body, and they create a compound that's cancer causing. And heme iron, that's another thing. People are like, well, the heme iron in the meat is causing cancer. And it's like, well, no, not really. Heme iron is actually good for you, and your body needs it. But heme iron also connects with the nitrates and nitrites and creates nitrosamines. So it's all, what I'm getting at is these preservatives, they combine with things that your body wants and needs, and they create a compound that is creating an environment inside of your body via inflammation and DNA damage. And that's what's leading to the cancer forming. It's not the red meat itself, it's the preservatives in the red meat. And another thing I hear a lot of people say is, well, man, studies, everybody's study happy. Man, there's studies out there that say that red meat causes cancer. And I was reading something on PubMed saying that, red meat, if you eat red meat once a week, your chances of developing cancer go up like 40% or 60% or something crazy. But there's nuance to that as well. The one thing that they don't tell you is the red meat that they use in these studies is like bologna and hot dogs and pepperoni, salami, factory farmed red meat, which the cows are eating GMO feed, genetically modified feed, and they're not eating grass like their natural food that they should be consuming. They're eating feed so they can fatten them up quicker and get them bigger quicker. And they're using meat that's has a bunch of antibiotics. They were pumped full of antibiotics their whole life, and hormones to get them bigger quicker as well. So it's like the meat that they're using in all of these studies that everybody wants to cite, they're conveniently leaving out the fact that this is low quality trash red meat that you shouldn't be consuming anyways. Like, if you look at the red meat that they're using in these studies, of course it causes cancer, because it's full of nonsense that don't belong in an animal in the first place, the animal that they're using. And it definitely don't belong in a human body. It's like all these foreign, abnormal chemicals that have only made their way onto the scene of factory farming because of greed. Like, they want to make these animals bigger and fatter quicker, so they pump them full of stuff that don't belong in their body. And then people are consuming this stuff, and the antibiotics that the cow got pumped full of, there's trace amounts, well, not really trace amounts, enough to affect your gut health. There's amounts of that antibiotic in the meat that you're consuming. And the hormones that they pump the cow full of to make it bigger quicker, those hormones are still in the meat when you consume it. So that throws off your endocrine system, because you got these hormones that you're consuming via the meat that don't belong in your body. And back to the antibiotics real quick. You're consuming antibiotics that was in the cow that it shouldn't have been in the cow in the first place. Now you're consuming it, and it's throwing off your gut health. And we all know when your gut health gets thrown off, that leads to a whole host of issues. So these are the things that people don't consider and don't unpack for whatever reason. Their doctor tells them that red meat is bad. and they read in Men's Health magazine that red meat is bad. And some podcaster they listened to said, yeah, man, red meat is bad. And the truth is, and I guess it's easy to get caught up in that and believe it because there is some truth to that. Like, I'm not going to say that's a false statement. That is a somewhat accurate statement. But the piece, the most important piece that they're leaving out is highly processed, low quality red meat causes cancer. That is a fact. But if you go to the store and you purchase a pound of grass-fed, grass-finished, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, just across the board organic, a pound of organic beef. If you purchase that and you go home and cook it, you are consuming nature's multivitamin. Like, you can't purchase a better piece of food. You can't put a better piece of food in your mouth to consume, man. It's so full of nutrients. It's full of all your amino acids, full of B vitamins, full of naturally occurring creatine, selenium, iron, zinc. Like, it's so good for you, man. I tell people all the time, grass-fed, grass-finished, hormone-free, antibiotic-free ground beef and eggs, a free-range or organic egg, a high-quality egg. Those two things, man, those are nature's multivitamin. You can't eat anything better. Like, when you consume them things, your body just like jumps for joy because you're just giving it just a load of nutrients that it can do so much with. Like, whenever you get done eating that meat or that egg, you now have something inside of your body that your body can just use to repair and build and boost immunity and joint health and skin and hair and nails. It's full of nutrients. So I guess that's why I'm so passionate, because when I hear people say, man, I don't eat red meat, it causes cancer, I'm just like, bro, tell me how. Like, I've gotten to the point to where when I hear people say that, I'm like, okay, tell me how. Like, what's it do? Like, whenever you consume red meat, what do you think is happening inside of your body? What is, from the time you swallow it to the time you digest it and it's in your system, what is taking place inside of your body that is causing cancer? And no one can ever answer that. They're just like, well, man, my doctor said it's bad for me, or man, I heard a podcast or this dude on YouTube. And it's just like, yeah, man, now sit down and let me break it down for you to where you're missing the mark. Like, your doctor has been misinformed, and the podcaster that you're listening to has been misinformed. And you got to walk them through the process of, man, it's not the red meat, it's the low quality red meat. So I just wanted to make this video because I get asked this a lot, and it's a topic that weighs on a lot of people. You know, they don't know what to do, and they're scared because, you know, cancer runs in their family, and you know, they're trying to get healthier and make the right decisions, as we all are on a daily basis. And they just feel like if they eat red meat, man, they're putting themselves at risk. And, you know, 5 years is going to go by and they're going to get like this bad report from their doctor one day that's going to catch them off guard. And the truth is, man, you should consume red meat, but quality red meat. Again, I'll say it one more time. If you do want to start consuming red meat more and you feel like you've been misled and you're like, dang, man, I've been lied to, let me start working red meat into my daily food consumption, or, you know, a couple times a week, whatever. Make sure you're getting grass-fed, grass-finished, hormone-free, and antibiotic-free, because we've already went over what the hormones do. They disrupt your endocrine system, and antibiotics, gut health, and just all type of issues. But you want grass-fed and grass-finished because that's what cows are supposed to eat. Cows aren't supposed to eat grain. They're not supposed to eat corn and soy. They're supposed to eat grass. That's the naturally occurring food source in their natural environment. And when you get a cow, and I didn't even plan on explaining this, but I might as well. When you get a cow that has been pumped full of corn and just genetically modified ingredients, it creates a high level of omega-6 fats. So they get fattened up, and the quality of that fat is now been altered. Like whenever you eat a grass-fed, grass-finished cow that has been eating what it's supposed to, it's got your omega-3s and your omega-6s, which you need omega-3s and omega-6s. But the ratio of the two is appropriate. Like it's got grass-fed, grass-finished has higher levels of omega-3, which is a good fat, and it's got just the right amount of omega-6s, which omega-6 is a good fat too. But high levels of omega-6 promotes inflammation. You don't want to consume anything with high levels of omega-6s. They're good at the right amount, but high levels, they cause inflammation, right? So the grass-fed, grass-finished meat has a high level of omega-3s, which is okay, you want that, and an appropriate lower amount of omega-6s. But when you get the cow that has been fed a bunch of corn and unnatural and has been fattened up in a way that's unnatural, the fat on its body, which is what you're going to get in the cuts of meat, has lower levels of omega-3 and high levels of omega-6s, which when you have a fattened up cow that has been fed grain and pumped full of antibiotics and pumped full of hormones, you are now consuming a meat that has nitrosamines, which is from the preservatives and the nitrates, mixing with the amines. So those promote inflammation. Then it also has high levels of omega-6, which also promotes inflammation. And it has hormones in it that disrupt your endocrine system. So it's like, once you really start digging into like factory farmed meat and these cows and these animals that got big and lived a life that was just unnatural, the finished product, man, the meat that you go purchase at the store, it's full of stuff that's just not good for you, man. And you really need to take the time to really read your labels. Like I preach that to all my clients. I send people like a client, or I send my clients a label reading blueprint on how to, like, once you walk into Aldi, Walmart, Publix, Winn-Dixie, wherever you shop, you need to be able to walk to the meat section and look at labels and know like what to look for. Like, because it matters. It really does. The quality of the meat matters. And if you're just going in there buying any old thing, I promise you, man, there's a good chance you're buying something factory farmed, full of nitrates and nitrites, full of omega-6 levels off the scale, an unhealthy amount of omega-6, and trace amounts, no, not trace amounts, I gotta stop saying that, enough amounts of antibiotics and hormones that it's going to throw off your gut health and endocrine system, and you don't want that. So just take the time to, one, read your labels and get an understanding of what type of meat you need to be consuming. And two, man, this is another objection I hear. Well, man, it's just more expensive. And it's like, man, one, no, it's not. Like that's one thing it's kind of funny when I hear it, because if you go price organic meat next to factory farm meat, like you're talking about like a couple bucks, right? And in the grand scheme of things, man, like what would you rather pay? Would you rather pay a couple bucks on a weekly basis to get better meat? Or would you rather pay for cancer treatments and doctor's visits and tests being ran and medications and hospital stays? Like, what are we talking about here, man? I've never understood that objection, because I personally know people right now, people close to me, that are battling cancer, and it's expensive. I assure you, the treatments and just everything that goes along with it, it's expensive. So I'll wrap it up with this. Don't be scared to consume red meat, because it's literally nature's multivitamin. You can't eat a better source of food, red meat and eggs. And next time you go to the store, just take that extra second to look for the grass-fed, grass-finished, antibiotic-free, hormone-free just organic meat. Like that is good for you. You do want to stay away from red meat that's heavily processed. It will cause cancer. That is true. But you don't want to stay away from all red meat, because out of fear, your fear for red meat, processed red meat, is making you miss out on something that is so good for you and can do so much for you and just strengthen you in so many ways. So with that being said, that's the history of red meat, and stay away from the nonsense. Read your labels, and next time you go to the store, go make sure you're purchasing a quality source of red meat, and your body will thank you. Peace.